Okay. Yeah. Welcome back to another 2 p.m. PST YouTube stream. I'm your host, Ranger Jim, and today we're going to be getting back into Pega. Uh, we have, well, we have Pega um, certification to continue doing. Apologies to anybody that's been trying to watch these streams that you're waiting for these additional topics. Um, you know, I do want to get to them. Uh, so, um, so hold on. You know, I'll get to them. you know, uh, any support that you can give me is also very much appreciated during this. Um, so, yeah, we got Pega today. Pega right now. We got some video uploads to handle later on tonight, or in about an hour, and then we have Final Fantasy VII Original coming on later on tonight. Um, yeah, okay. So who am I and why am I doing this? So, right now I am currently a software developer that is unemployed, trying to look for work. Uh, and well, the last job that I had was concerning Pega. Um, but I wasn't able to get the certification. Um, my one and only time that I tried doing the certification, I missed too many questions to get the bare minimum, and I missed it by like 6 questions or something like that. Um, and I wasn't able to get the bare minimum to get the certification. Um, you know, uh, couple reasonings was that we were trained we were trained by an authorized training partner, but pretty much everybody in my particular training group went self-study after a short time because we were having a really hard time with the instructor, to the point where even his coworkers knew how much trouble that we were having with him. But nothing came about from it. We were still forced into taking the certifications. I was not ready for my certification because I was still in self-study at the time. So um, and but they wanted me to take it at that specific time. Otherwise, I would basically be removed from the training course. And I'm like, well, I'm not ready, but okay, here we go. And well, wasn't enough. It was also unfortunate the fact that, while taking the 8.6 training course, um, they didn't really instruct us about, past keywords, because some of those keywords from, say, like Pega 7, were on the certification exam. So there was that. Um, so my one and only time that I took the certification did not succeed at it. Now, it does fall on me to that I should have continued trying to study and push myself to try to take it again. Um, but it's really helpful when you have a mentor to help you, to guide you. And well, I didn't really have that. So um, so this is my attempt to try to do it once again on my own. Trying to get through to try to take the certification again and pass it, get the certification, and start applying for Pega jobs again in the hopes of getting another job. Um, My attempts of getting entry-level software development jobs um, have not succeeded. Either I get ghosted or I get rejection letters. So more often than not, I'm no notification whatsoever. So um, matter of fact, I got some some email about, hey, are you in a, what was it, a hub zone? And I'm like, okay, what does that have anything to do with it? But apparently, I guess that particular company wanted to hire employees in hub zones. I guess hub zone is areas with like um, low um, low economic growth or something along those lines. So they figure, hire some people in those locations to maybe try to raise up the entire area, maybe. I don't really know. It doesn't make any sense to me because I'm renting a room. I have no assets to my name. It's like, oh well. What can I do? Um, but that's me. Um, Now, for those of you that are watching these videos, either you're watching the stream right now or you're watching the video later on my YouTube channel, please know that I am not an authorized training partner and this is not meant for an instructor-led training. Okay, I'm not an expert in Pega. I'm learning it myself. So please do not consider me as either one of those two. Now, if you want to take the instructor-led training, most likely there will be someone from Pega Academy that will be training you on it. It's a short training. It's fairly expensive in my particular opinion. Um, I think it's like around $5,000 for like a 2 week program. So it's a very condensed program in order for you to take your certification. Um, Ask questions. You know, if you take the instructor-led training, ask as many questions as you can. Try to get as much information as you can. Be prepared for that certification. Ask for previous keywords. You know, because not only will you probably be seeing it on the certification exam itself, but you'll probably be talking with other individuals out in the real world that have not heard about those changes. So they may use keywords that you're not familiar with. So prepare yourself for that. Okay. Um, so I'm currently working towards my system architect certification. We are done covering the business architect certification. Okay. Let me explain a little bit more. I forgot to sign in. I knew something was odd. Hold on. There we go. All right. So, working towards this system architect certification. So, got that to go through. We're already done with the business architect. We've done the 2 missions, 2 modules. So that's done. Okay. These 2 modules, however, are all about the Pega Express delivery. So if you are trying to do the business architect, then I would recommend that you cover the Pega Express delivery mission. So, pardon me, my nose is running. Be right back. sorry about that. Okay, so we covered the Pega Express delivery to get, enough information to cover the 13% coverage that the Pega Express delivery is going to be on the certification. So prepare yourself for that. Okay. But we still haven't finished off the system architect mission. There's still a lot for me to cover on it, so let's continue on, shall we? We're going through the decision tables and trees. Last one we did was the decision trees, so our next subject is the decision tree or decision table topic. So the differences between decision trees and or between decision tables and trees is both decision tables and decision trees evaluate properties or conditions to return results when a comparison evaluates to true. While decision tables evaluate against the same set of properties or conditions, decision trees evaluate against different properties or conditions. So, um, so they basically do essentially the same thing. It's just you're looking at two different types of conditions and whatnot. So depending on what you need, you know, that's you basically choose between tables or trees. So in a decision table, the values of a common evaluate against the same property operation pair, such as account type is equal to return a value or property. Developers can use a decision table when they have to evaluate many combinations of the same set of properties or conditions to return one value or property. For example, a company uses the number of years at the company and ratings on 5 employee evaluation metrics to determine bonus eligibility. Okay. Okay. Each branch in a decision tree evaluates the property operator pair against a single value to perform an action, such as return the value or evaluate a nested condition. Developers can use a decision tree to evaluate conditions on different properties that might depend on other conditions. Each branch in a decision tree is evaluated, and all branches that evaluate to true perform the same and the action that is described afterward, such as continuing the evaluation to the nested condition. For example, a language learning app runs extensive A/B testing, where some users receive hearts and other users receive stars for their efforts. The values for hearts and stars are collected in separate properties. A decision tree evaluates the different rewards for which users are eligible based on the number of hearts or stars that are associated with the account. In the center of the following image, slide the vertical line to compare the interface for setting up a decision table or decision tree. So with the decision table, you have if credit score is equal to is greater than or equal to a certain amount for a particular account type or a particular loan type for a particular loan term, then you get a certain value returned. Otherwise, you get a different one returned. So let's say you have a credit score that's greater than 700 for you know for a credit card or you know home loan or something like that. Okay, and if they are over like 700, then they can they might get that credit card or something along those lines. Otherwise, they don't get it. It gets rejected. Okay, as a possibility. Okay. Um, if comparison value has these different operators for value, then either return, continue, or otherwise, you know, like return the value, continue, you know, maybe continue to like the next stage or something like that, or they go to otherwise, and you have different choices down here with a certain value. So depending on what the otherwise has, so that might be that might change too. So okay, decision trees and decision tables perform similar functions. However, you cannot always use decision tables and decision trees interchangeably within Pega platform applications. To select which logic to configure, consider which and what conditions you want to evaluate and where you need to use the decision table or decision tree. For example, you can reference a decision table or decision tree on flow rules, declare expressions, activities, or routers. Some configurations, such as cascading approvals with an authority matrix, support only evaluation of decision tables. The line-by-line structure of the decision tree provides a simple interface for a business stakeholder or low-code developer to configure and update dependent conditions that evaluate against different properties. If you use a decision table in a situation where a few conditions evaluate against the same property, the decision table has empty boxes where a value is not needed for the decision. With the straightforward table structure of the decision table, a business stakeholder or low-code developer can configure and update a decision that evaluates against many of the same properties. Consider a wizard that guides bank customers through a set of questions and returns the account type that best fits their needs. You can configure the decision with a decision table or a decision tree. Using a decision table to select an account type results in empty boxes, while using a decision tree results in duplicate conditions. In the center of the following image, slide the vertical line to compare the decision table and decision tree for account type decision. So for the decision table here, if you have checking and if they are true for if they're a senior, nothing concerning 19 years or student or large average daily balance or frequent trader, automatically gives the senior checking. you know, Even if these other values were still true, um, this first value being true will automatically result in the senior checking, no matter what. Okay. Um, so, um, basically you have like it's basically like a nested if-else statement within an else if statement here. So if checking is true, then it checks if you know the value is a senior. Then if that's true, then it automatically returns the senior checking. Um, you know, it it still has to check the well, um, it's still these the process still kind of checks through all of these, okay, because it kind of needs to, okay, because if this is false, then it still has to kind of check through this line and this one and that one. So even though technically they don't really need this right here for any of the checking or savings. So, um, so that's why it's like the reason why that's the reason why you see a lot of empty boxes. Okay. Um, because I mean, the the account type is investing. They don't need to check if there's a senior 19 years or student or large average daily balance. They don't need to check on it based off the information that's here. It's just checking to see if either one of them is, the account type is investing. That's it. So, um, I mean, they probably could have done like two separate decision tables, to be honest. Um, with this, they could have said, hey, um, if the account type is checking savings, go to this particular decision table. Else, if they're investing, then go to this decision table or something like that. They probably could have done that. Might have saved a lot of, could have saved some in terms of space, but at the same time, um, the, you know, person trying to look and change these in some fashion or another, like maybe these have some form of values to them or something like that, like a credit score or something like that, then maybe they want to kind of keep it all in one particular location too. So it's a mixed bag. You're gonna have to figure out, you know, what you would want to kind of do on that. So, um, so you're gonna need to kind of plan what you want to kind of see, right? And um, you also want to make sure that it's easy to change later, right? Um, oh, here's something. So let's say, okay, let's say you have those two separate decision tables, right? One for checking savings and one for investing, right? Now, what happens if they come along and say, hey, we want to add some additional um, uh, evaluations or maybe some additional kind of programs over here for investing that might work more for seniors. Like maybe there's an investing senior plus or investing senior. Well, what happens if this right here is in its own table? Now you got yourself a problem, right? You know, now you have the potential of, well, now you can't like add a line in here to, in this particular case, all you'd have to do would be add a line and put in some evaluations in here, right? That's what you could do, at least in this particular decision table. But if the investing is in its own table with these columns gone, now you're kind of in trouble, right? And now you're going to have to kind of change the table altogether. You're going to have to add in that column for that one particular decision table. Or you have to modify the checking and savings to include the investing and then change the location that it's pointing to. You get what I'm saying? So, so in some ways, you know, allowing for, um, potential change in the future could be a good thing. But at the same time, it might, if, you know, it might take a little bit longer in like computation wise, maybe. Because I mean, it has to go through each one of these checks here to even get to the checking and savings bundle there, folks. Okay? It has to evaluate each one of these steps before it can get to the checking and savings bundle. So, so yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, um, if these checks keep on growing and growing and growing, your efficiency is going to decrease over time. So be aware of that. Okay. So it might look like you have a lot of room to modify and change depending on what your you know what your company wants, kind of thing. But at the same time, you could be sacrificing, you know, efficiency for ease of use. So, in other words, like, um, you could have a check that might check through like millions of lines of customers, you know, and that evaluation might take a long time to kind of run through that process, or you can kind of narrow it down a little bit and have like maybe 10 customers or something like that being evaluated or something. You know, I'm just putting that out there. So be aware, of how you want to build your. So, and here's the decision tree. So, if account type is checking, then continue. If they're senior, then senior checking. If they're student, then student. Um, the fact that it has like, you know, um, you know, if there's, um, it really should be if else, or if else if else, because we already know that the senior and the student are false. So, um, so to be honest, these are unnecessary checks. Um, yeah, these first two lines, these two lines are unnecessary. Um, because if the senior is true, then it's going to return to senior checking. If false, it'll move on to the next line. So these two lines right here are just completely unnecessary because it's not needed. You could just move this line up there and it should work perfectly fine. Am I wrong in that? Because you don't need to check if it's false. It's already been checked. It's either true or false up here. Why are you checking again if it's false? Is there something else other than true or false in this? If that's the case, then your binary needs to change, or you need to evaluate what you're doing on that, because you're doing extra checks here that you don't need. Um, Same with down here. You can just move that up there, and that should be fine. Um, Matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and take a screenshot of that. Let's see. Oops. That's a little too wide. Okay. Let's see. But yeah, this is basically, same kind of process as this. It's just I don't know why they include these other two if statements. I don't see why they would need that. All they would need is that line right up there, and that's it. Everything else has already been checked, so I don't know what else they're doing there. So, um, so check your knowledge with the following interaction. Use a decision tree rather than a decision table to automate a decision that evaluates different properties based on top-level conditions. Um, I believe that's true. Yeah, because you're evaluating different properties. So, okay, let me. Um, so I'm a bit confused on the graphic concerning the decision tree. Can't you just remove the highlighted lines in attached photo and have the correct evaluation? No. For example, if senior if student if what's the I mean, let me relook at the image again just to make sure that I'm getting it correctly here. Let's see. Large average daily balance Wouldn't that work just as well? Extra lines. The rows 4 and 5. And rows 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 are just unnecessary because the above statements are already evaluating whether they are true or not. If they aren't true, then it will eventually evaluate to the daily balance. Unless there is something else beyond true or false, that would be scary. Thought. All right. Now, I know that they are trying to show that um well like this right here. It's like, you don't need these false because if they're evaluating the true on either one of these two statements, then it's going to be going to senior checking or student checking. You know. Um so it has to be going to this next check here. Unless, of course, their underlying code here is so well. Okay, if let me put it this way. Okay, the image is really off-putting right at this moment in time because um, if they're doing false checks here and here, then when they shouldn't they also be putting a false check here under our senior? Because I mean, if it's checking to see whether or not, if the senior is true or false here, shouldn't it be doing the exact same thing here? You know, it has to have a response. Like, is it true or is it false? Then wouldn't you want the false up there? That's why this is kind of throwing me off here. It's like, what? Why are you putting false here when you've already checked? you're already checking whether or not it's true or false just by this first line here. Okay? Because it's false, it can move on to the next line. Okay? It won't it won't go it won't get to the second line here if this already evaluates to true. Okay? If it is false, it moves on. Now, if for some reason they're having to check for false and false here for some reason, then why are they not checking here for it? These both of these lines have already evaluated to false. Otherwise, this line would never have been reached. Okay? If if the account type is savings, you know, if the account type is savings, it would check this. Is it savings? No. Move on. Is account type savings? No. Move on. Account type savings? No. Move on. Then it checks the next line. Okay. It does not check the rest of the enclosed if statements here, there, folks. That's not how programming works. That's not how logic works. It's not going to go, oh, hey, if savings is, it checks to see whether or not savings is there, and but it also has to check each one of the. No, it doesn't need to do that. If they are doing that, then that's really bad coding. Okay, you don't need to do that. Okay, um, you don't need to have a. You don't need to have these conditions in like an and bracket system. You don't need to do that. If they are doing that, then um, that's that's a bit weird. I wouldn't be doing that at all. Okay, because you're doing unnecessary checks. Um, and once again, if it is indeed an and system going on, then once again, wouldn't you want to have false here? And wouldn't you want to have false on these others as well? You know, that's you know, that's my point. Okay, that's why I'm like, hmm, something weird going on um, with that process there. So, all right, but that's it for the decision trees or decision tables. Um, so, um, now you, if you're not quite sure about the reasoning behind a decision tree or decision table, let me know in the comments. Okay. Um, I get it. I understand what they're trying to go for on this. But if you're still not quite sure, um, then let me know. Feel free to ask in the comment section. Okay, especially if you're not like fully understanding what they're trying to go for. You know, when do you decide on a decision table? When do you decide on a decision tree? Okay. Um, don't pick it, you know, at random. Don't just kind of roll the dice and go, yeah, this should be fine. Okay. Make sure that you know which one you want to pick depending on the situation that is presented to you by your company. Okay. If they're coming to you and they say, hey, I need you to check, on this particular condition, okay, or multiple different conditions, which one will you choose? Okay. You need to evaluate that. Okay. Because um, if you pick the wrong one, then it might cause problems in the future, especially if they need to maybe change it. Okay, you're gonna have to if you pick the wrong one, if you pick the decision tree over a decision table, and suddenly you need to add some additional information in there or something like that, that still applies to a decision table. then now you're going to have to completely remove that decision tree altogether and build that decision table. Okay, and that's potentially a lot of work, a lot of testing to do. So make sure that you are confident on which one that you need. So, um, like I said, if you if you need a hand with it, or if you're kind of wondering which is why which is which, let me know in the comments. Okay, I can actually answer that particular problem. Okay, so if you're not quite sure, you know, ask. You know, um, or if there's something else that you're maybe confused about. Okay, concerning what a decision tree versus a decision table is all about. Okay, ask it in the comments. Okay, feel free to ask questions. Maybe it's something that I haven't really personally considered. Okay, so if it's something that I'm not fully aware of, then um, sure, I might not be able to answer it myself, but I'll try to find someone that can. Okay, but don't be afraid to ask those questions. Okay, please. You know, um, if you're not sure about something, ask why. Okay. But that's going to be it for today's Pega session. We are going to go ahead and call it there. So I want to thank everybody that has been watching the series, that's been um, subscribing because of it, and um, those of you that are still commenting on the videos, liking them. I appreciate you doing that. Hopefully you'll continue to do so. Feel free to check out, my other videos on my other playlists if you're so inclined. Um, uh, we're I'm thinking about doing another coding session here fairly soon. Not quite sure exactly when, but um, the idea is out there, so we're currently working on that. Um, so if it comes about, then it will come. Then you'll probably be seeing some more coding sessions happening here fairly soon. Um, but we'll see. Um, but feel free to check out the description for other social media links. There's links directly to my to websites that help me out personally, such as Patreon and Throne, for example. There's some additional, um, there's a link for the stream team that I built, the Team Robot, that you can check out. The application link is in the description, and there's a Google document that explains what the team is all about. We're looking for streamers and non-streamers to join, so feel free to check that out if you want. Um, other than that, help me out with the YouTube algorithm with all the, like subscriptions and all that. That would be fantastic. Um, that would really help me out. Um, we're continuing to push forward on subscribers, so I want to thank you for joining me on this travel. More videos to come, so look forward to that. Um, and yeah, that's it. So take care. Have a good night. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll catch you strangers next time.